Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm going to go through how to set up a player token. Now, there are three types of tokens in FoundryVTT. One is a player token, one is a non-player token, and one is a vehicle. I will go through what each of them are, but I will probably do 3 videos just to individualize them, as they can get a little bit long, and this is already probably going to be a long enough episode explaining character sheets and how to update all the information. So I will break that down into 3 parts, and I will do all of that for you. So the first thing is we click on Create Actor up here. So you go to your actors directory here on the top, click on Create Actor, and then you can put in a name. So we will use Elise Starseeker. And here you can see we have player character, which is the type of character that your players would play. Oddly enough, player character, right? But it has a very specific and unique sheet. It's very, in this case, because we're using the D&D 5e module, or rule set, I should say. What it means is that we're using the D&D 5e sheet, which is very different to the non-player character sheet. The NPC sheet gets a lot of different and unique abilities, and the vehicle, again, it's the same thing. It has its own abilities and stuff. It has storage, it has carry weight, carry capacity, that kind of thing that players wouldn't have. If you're setting up tokens for your players, it's player character. If you're setting up tokens as a DM for yourself, for your dragons or your monsters or your zombies or whatever, it's non-player characters. Even if it's your BBEG or your big bad, even if you're going through that process, it would be non-player character because they have different features like legendary actions and resistances that may not normally be available. But let's jump into player character here for this one, and I'll go over the other ones then in time. Just for the record, if you want to unpause the game when it comes to moving tokens around and stuff, you can, but your players can't. Press the spacebar, and the pause will go away. It starts paused by default so the people don't come in and start messing around and doing things. Okay, so here we have our base stats, okay? We have our name at the top, our race, so here I'm going to say elf. Background, I'll say pirate. Alignment, chaotic good. So the race you get from your player's handbook. The background you can get from, you can also get races from some other books as well, some of the later ones. And the background as well you can get from several different books. The alignment, generally it follows the structure of the 9 different alignments that you can get in Dungeons & Dragons in this case, but if you're playing a different rule set, it may not have this. Proficiency, this is determined by your character level. Hit points, this is your health, the overall health pool. So once you've rolled for your HP and stuff like that, it is where you will input your max HP. Not max, sorry, this is different. So what you've got is your overall HP. So this would be 25, for example. Let's say she rolled a 25, but she has 10 of 25 hit points left. If I gave her a long rest, for example, she would get her 25 of 25 hit points back. So the left side is where you put the damage in, the right side is what her total is. Temporary hit points are if she has a spell or an effect or a boon that perhaps increases the effect of her health points temporarily. Would be like, say, 8 temporary hit points. Then it knows to take those 8 first, and then they're gone. Her new boost to her max is, for example, if she has a spell that increases your overall maximum HP to, say, 30, that means if someone casts a healing spell on her, she'll go back up to 30. It goes away at the long rest, but it should, if someone casts a healing spell on her, it should go up to 30. Hit dice, this is determined by your character's overall level, so you won't get much information here at the moment, but when you've input your character in the features section, that's how that'll change. Armor class is determined by the armor that you have equipped. I'll show you that in a minute. Movement speed, there's different types of movement like burrowing, climbing, flying. For example, the Asimar can have an optional flying speed sometimes when they use a special effect. Some of them can. Depending on what variant of Dragonborn you're playing, which is maybe a bit controversial, but you may have a fly speed as well, if you're using the feet especially. Swim speed, of course, as well. A lot of rangers might have a good climb, walk, and swim speed, for example, that might be the same, and you can set that up here. Hovering, if it's a hovering creature or not. Feet, miles, meters, kilometers, that's just that's on every page, but if you've got things that are moving 30 miles in 6 seconds, that's pretty impressive. This is based on your 6 second, your round timer. So initiative, that is also dictated by your character's level and information here on the left as well. So here we've got our attributes like strength, and if you see this little gear cog, you can update things to perhaps they're proficient in strength. And if they have a saving throw bonus, like from any of their features from their class or racial features. And then a global saving throw bonus means not just to strength. So the normal one, this one is just a saving throw bonus to strength. So if I put a 2 here, I'll get a +2 to strength. But if I have a 2 here, I'll gain a +2 to everything. The same goes for ability checks. So this is saving throws. So if you click on strength, you've got your saving throw and your ability check. But this is the same thing. So if you add it to saving throws or to ability checks for global, it adds to all of them. If you add it just to the saving throw bonus or check bonus, it adds it just to that one modifier. To add proficiency, you can tick that and click submit, or you can simply tick underneath it where that circle is, and it will let you do that as well. So let's take, I don't know, wisdom, charisma, sure. So I'll go with fake stats for this, but you can use real stats if you want to. Like if you put your player's real rolled stats in, if you haven't yet rolled stats, you can always do that later, or even do that in Foundry. There are ways to do that. So strength, let's say 8, dexterity 9, sure, whatever, constitution 11, intelligence 16, wisdom 18, charisma 14, sure. So just some base stats, but you can see the difference there. So 8 and 9, because they're respectively within the same fragments, are -1 to saving throws and ability scores. Ability is on the left, saving is on the right. But if you see wisdom here, she's proficient in wisdom, so it adds her. She has a -1 to initiative, sorry, but proficiency is +1. She has a +1 to her wisdom proficiency, because right here you can see as her saving throw, because she is proficient in wisdom. So her saving throw gets a +1, and as she levels up and gets +2, +3, +4, it will automatically update this for you too, which means you don't have to do it, which is always wonderful. The same thing goes for, say, if you add, let's say she's proficient at Arcana, but maybe she has, see, you can add. So if you see this, it has went from +3 to proficiency is +4, adding her proficiency bonus. And perhaps she has expertise in religion. So if you left click, you'll get proficiency. If you right click, you'll get expertise. And you can also cycle through them by just simply left clicking continuously or right clicking continuously. The other one in the middle is half proficiency. So it gives sort of a middle ground in some of the rule sets. You can do that. But so she has expertise, so it adds +2. So it's her intelligence, which we know is a +3, +2 because she has expertise, which doubles her proficiency bonus. So it's a 5 in total. Here we've got our resources, which is primary, secondary, and tertiary resources. This is like, let's for example say, I don't know, if she was playing Paladin, for example, she might have smite, right? And so she has 2 smites per day, and she uses 1, so she would mark that down by 1, and she uses another 1. She would mark that down again. You can set features to take those off automatically, but still. Let's say she gets her smite back on a long rest and a short rest. So she goes, she takes her break. There you go. She gets her smite back automatically. But let's imagine in a world she has 0 left and she only gets it back on a long rest. She goes for her long rest. It's a new day. Then she would get that back. But if we didn't have a short rest ticked and we took our short rest, you can see that it wouldn't come back. It only comes back on the long rest. And that goes for all 3 resources. You can have features that, for example, if you had smite there, but in your feature list, you had already put a smite effect in, you could go into that sheet, add the attribute remove primary resource, it'll take that away. Death saving throws is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's pretty straightforward if you've played Dungeons & Dragons before. If not, just take a look at the player's handbook. It'll explain what death saves are. But effectively, you just mark your death saves here. Exhaustion is the same thing, so you mark off your exhaustion points here. So if you have level 1, level 2, it doesn't add the effects automatically, although you could use modules to add that later, but we'll discuss that in another module review video. Inspiration, if they have Bardic or Bardic or DM inspiration, or GM inspiration, depending on what you say, you would tick that then and they would remember that they had it. Size, so anything from tiny to gargantuan. It's pretty good. You can get modules that interact with this size measurement and they automatically correct the token as you place it, which is pretty cool. Senses, so blind sight, dark vision, tremor sense, true sight, what unit it is measured in, and special senses, maybe like passive perception. So you can work out the passive perception, put it there, and then if you tick, for example, if they had 30 feet of blind sight and click submit, it'll say blind sight 30 feet, passive perception. You have your language choices, which there's plenty, but even if you wanted, say, sign language, let's just say, and Elvish and Common, you tick that, and now you can see that it has the custom one, but also the others as well. Damage immunities, alongside, say, vulnerabilities and resistances, are quite the same. It only opens one. Okay. So damage, immunities, resistance, and vulnerabilities is the same list, but so like maybe they're immune to thunder damage. So if somebody rolls thunder damage against Elise now, what will happen is it will mark off no damage because she's completely resistant to thunder. But then let's say, it'll mark half damage because she's resistant to thunder. If it's an immunity and she's immune to necrotic, if somebody uses necrotic, it marks off all the damage. So all the damage for immunities, half damage for resistances. It automatically calculates that for you during damage rolls, which is fantastic. Vulnerabilities means she takes extra damage against, say, lightning. She's resistant to thunder, but you know, vulnerable to lightning. Why not? So if she takes lightning damage, she'll take extra damage from that. It's like, say, for example, an ice giant taking additional damage from fire or whichever. They may have different things like that where they aren't quite as immune. Condition immunities. Perhaps she's immune to being blinded, grappled, deafened. Yeah, sure. And then you just do that. And the same thing, everyone has a special box. She's immune to clicking the like button. There you go. And now she's just immune to clicking it. She won't click my like button. Weapon proficiencies. You can, if she's weapon proficient with, say, all simple weapons, but only a halberd and a lance and a scimitar for whatever reason. And she's really good with a rock. You can just add that. And then you've got your special weapons, halberd, lance, scimitar, rock. Either Dwayne the Rock Johnson or normal rock, whichever. Armor proficiencies. You can add all of them by ticking the boxes, or you can simply say plate mail, split mail, and shields, and it will just add the individuals or all, depending on what you want. Tool proficiencies is much the same, although if they had every single artisan tool, I would be very impressed. But let's say she's potter, smith, good with a forgery kit. She uses the viol, or vial. That is where this will go. And special traits is like if she has a feature, so she's alert or jack of all trades, for example, or the reliable talent feat. You mark off their original class at the top, which is for her, maybe say she's druid, but she multiclassed into sorcerer. It'll still remember that her first class was druid and take that into account when leveling her up. If she has racial traits like elven accuracy, which she would, or halfling lucky or powerful build, it'll automatically calculate that too. So when you're rolling the d20, it'll add advantage to those specific things for elven accuracy. Or for example, if you're using the reliable talent feature, that for example will kick in and then it will automatically know if the roll was below 10 and just give it a 10, which is pretty cool. Melee global bonuses just means to all like melee weapon damage, range spell, or melee spell damage, or even just global ability checks, like I showed you earlier here. A global spell DC is this DC to beat with your spellcasting modifier. You can add to this and it will update all of that information across the entire sheet for this character, which is pretty cool. That's effectively it. So if you click up here, you've got prototype token. This is where you can control, so token name. Here I can just set this to Elise, and you can see that it won't change here, right? Her sheet is still Elise Starseeker, but when she's on the board and if players hover over her, if you have it set up here to display names, so say hover by anyone, right? And link actor data. So what that means is just, if you have like 50 zombies, but you want to use one token and just put it out 50 times, you unlink the data so they don't all take the damage. So if I put out 10 Elise right now with all of the linked actor data, they'll all take the damage if one of them gets hit. But if I don't link the actor data, then if you hit one, the other 9 won't take damage from that, just the one will. Token disposition is friendly, neutral, or hostile, so you can set it up whichever way you want, and it controls the color. I'll show you that now though. I'll update this token, so hover by anyone and Elise, okay? So now you can see that her disposition is friendly because it's got a blue border. But if I was to say, click here and open her prototype token, so I'll close her sheet for a sec. You double click the token, you can open it, and you see that this says token. Now if I open it from here, it says prototype token. This just edits the token here. If you click it on the right and click prototype token, that edits the main core primary token. So if I'm just editing this token here, let's say, and we'll say hover by anyone, but she's a hostile, we'll update this token. You can see that she's gone red on the border. Now your players, as far as I know, could see that as well. So I just generally use neutral because it's just, it makes it a little bit easier if they all have that same border. You can also change it so that, for example, if she's unknown, it won't change her name here, but if they players don't know who this is, then it's unknown, right? But what you can do is, let's say Elise, let's go to, so I have a ton of stuff here. If yours doesn't look exactly the same, don't worry about it. I've been running games for a long time. So let's go for Elise Starseeker's profile here. So you can see that now I have a picture, and if I place it, the picture comes out, right? I can right click Elise now and view her artwork, and I can show it to players. Thank you, Blizzard, for letting me use Elise in this. So you can right click view token artwork. So this is like I can share this with the players, and if I right click here, I can share this with the players too. But maybe I don't want that to be her token, right? Like I want her to have vision and everything. So let's go to prototype token. Let's go to vision first of all. I'm going to give her 30 feet of dark vision. I'll go over this in a moment, but effectively, in fact, actually, I went over this in the last video. These are the same as the default settings, so you can always check there if you need to as well. But effectively, she just has dark vision. She does have vision, so I ticked it yes. I want her health. So hovered by owner, I want to see her health points whenever I hover over her. I'll take her name, but not anybody else. So whenever it's hovered by owner, it'll show me Elise, but nobody else who hovers her can see that information. And I will go for a token. So what I'll do is I'll go to tokens. I'll go to my tests. I've got my Elise token here. So if you have a token pre-made, that's perfect. If not, I'll show you in another video how to make tokens anyway. But now if I drag her token out, you can see that she has a token. So I can view her character artwork and share that with the players, or view her token artwork and also share that with the players. But it means now she actually has a physical token on the board to play with, and she can actually use that. And if I want to say, let's say give her a light, okay? So let's say she has a really strong torch on, so it's 30 feet of bright, but like 60 feet of dim. And it's got the torch animation. We'll give it a nice orangey kind of color. Color intensity, bring that down. Animation speed, we'll throw up the intensity. And there we go. You can see that she has that. And if I lower the brightness on the map, you'll see that this has like a nice flicker to it. And anyone who can see this light anywhere on the map, they can see it in color and everything like that. And so now you can see that she is she's standing there with her torch. So let's set that back to day. Okay, so we'll take away, oh, it doesn't matter. Inventory. Now you can add an item to the inventory and you can edit it if you want. Add the details, if it's equipped, what kind of action it is, if it's an action at all. So perhaps it's one action. The action type is a melee weapon attack, we'll say, with a damage of 1d8 slashing. She has no bonuses to hit. Her target can be one creature within 5 feet. There we go. So now we've just created a random small weapon, and if I go here, let's just call this sword. And if I go here and if I click the little dice, if I hover my mouse here and I click the little dice, you can see I have my sword. I can roll with an attack, and it adds her various modifiers. And then I click damage. There we go. I rolled 1d8, and it rolled a 13 to hit. Now, if we take this away and we use our greatsword from the last video, same thing. We can just roll this. We can attack with normal. It adds different modifiers, and then you can see actually that this modifier and this modifier are different. I'll show you why now in a second. And then I can roll my damage as well, and then it goes. Now, if I put that greatsword on any token, it'll do the same damage based on, like, not including their main modifiers. But the reason that this up here, this roll here, and that this roll here were slightly different is because I didn't change this. So it's a melee weapon attack, action modifier, melee weapon attack. Ability modifier is default. So in this case, it would be strength because it's a greatsword. But let's say she was using a scimitar or something and she wanted to use her dex. Then she could re-roll this. I think her strength and dex are the same, I think. Yeah, so let me just change this to like 14, for example. So we'll get rid of that chat. We'll re-roll this. And now if it's using her dexterity, it adds a +2 instead of, it says +-1, but that is just going to -1. It just says plus to break up the formula, but it's saying that it's 1d20, add 0, add -1, which is just -1. It looks weird in the formula, but it does make sense. Equipment is like armor, consumables is potions, tools is just tools, containers is like your backpack and stuff, loot is things like gems or whatever. or like little statues and stuff like that. Your gold goes up here at the top, and that is effectively it. Features, class levels. So you can add your class however you want. You can add a class and just simply try and type it in, and depending on your rule set, it may even give it to you. So if I said druid, it knows it's a druid, and I can click apply, and then it adds those features to me straight away. I didn't even need to put any other details in. Simply knows I'm a class level 1. I would change this to a D8 for druid, I believe. Spell progression is full caster, because they can cast. How many hit dice have they used? So they have 1, so if I say 1, you can see this goes to 0. They've used their 1 hit dice. Subclass name, circle of YouTube. There you go. What class level are they? So if we go to level 2 here, it'll tell me that I've unlocked Druidic Circle and Wild Shape, and I can click apply. And it automatically adds that based on my rule set, which is pretty cool. As I was saying in one of the previous videos, I believe it was the first one, Atropos put a lot of work into this stuff, and this seems to be the rule set that drags all of this information in, so it's pretty cool. Her spellcasting ability modifier would be Wisdom as a Druid. Saving throws, like what saving throws is she proficient in? Now, what I'll do here is, let me remove all of this. Don't worry about the error messages, it's just because I still had stuff here. So in your compendiums, you may already have some set worlds here, some set compendiums here for your world that come with it. And if you go to, say, classes, you can see that we have quite a few here. But Druid, that's the most important one. Let me drag that in and apply it. Now you can see this is already set up. It has my description, including what Wild Shape is. So I could click on my Druidic Circle and I learn what my Druidic Circle is, what level I get it at, and what it does. Even what page it is in the player's handbook, which is very useful. And if I go to my level here and I say that I want to be level 2, it already tells me that my saving throws include Intelligence and Wisdom, which it's there. My number of starting skills is 2, but here is the starting skills that I can choose from, which is outlined in the player's handbook. And then I can just pick my choose 2 skills. So I click apply here on this, and then I choose my chosen skills. Let's say Arcana and Religion, and now it has those, and they're on the sheet as well. Let's say you multi-class. You can always just drag a Paladin in there, why not? There you go, now she's a Druidic Paladin. Level 2 Druid, level 1 Paladin. And then if we go back to our, down here, our special traits. Original class Druid, but you can also change that to Paladin if you want to, because that was her original class, whichever one. But it knows that Druid was her primary class. Spells. Now, spells work very much the same. So it already tells you that she has 0 of 3 spell slots. She has cantrips. She hasn't taken her long rest yet, so if we gave her a long rest, 3 of 3. Now, let's move her up a little bit. If you're going to upgrade, don't go from 2 to 10 because it won't include all the features. So let's go 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's not asking me to level up the stuff anyway, but so there we go. She's level 5 Paladin. Her spell book now includes 2nd and 3rd levels. Let's take another long rest. And there you go. And so what we can do is, instead, I will grab some spells from my SRD here on the right, which is where they're all set up. So if you take something really high level, like Animate Dead, it will just create the... Anti-Magic Field. Let's go with that. There you go. Anti-Magic Field is 8th level. So you can see it just created an 8th level slot, which doesn't make sense because there's nothing there, but it also says 0 of 0. So you just can't cast that spell. But if you do take something like, for example, Animate Dead, we have 2 spell slots. So if we go to chat here, let's say I roll Animate Dead. It's a 3rd level spell. I have 2 slots. If you want to upcast it, you can, if you've got upcasting available for that spell. Consume spell slot, yes. There's 2 of 2. Cast spell, 1 of 2. Animate Dead goes into chat. You can hit the, if you have the settings the way I did in the last episode, you can hit this and expand it, and it will give you all of the information. Hit it again to put it away. It tells you all the information about the spell. If you've got spells that you can upcast, like, say, Magic Missile, and you hit roll, you can cast it at 1st, 2nd, or 3rd level. So let's say we cast it at 3rd level, we can just do our damage and just go from there and just keep rolling our damage to do our various missiles. Since they automatically hit, you don't have to roll to hit. But if you were to use a different thing, like say spiritual weapon or something, you would have to roll to hit, obviously. But this is, this is just kind of how spells work, and they automatically update your list. You just have to, it even has your DC here. So we say that her intelligence is her spellcasting modifier, or wisdom, doesn't really matter. DC 15 is the spell to beat. So if you cast a spell against somebody and they have to beat your spellcasting DC, this number here, that tells you exactly what it is. If you want to know what spells you have that are an action, or bonus action, or reaction, in case you're in a hurry and you want to see what's going on, and maybe you want to react to something, but you click your reactions and you're like, oh, that's the spell I want to use. Yeah, It tells you what school it is, what it costs, an action, or does it take a minute to do, what your target is it an object or a creature, that kind of thing. Effects, don't worry about that. We're going to do a full guide on that. And biography, we'll end that with this. We'll end this with this. So this is all the things that you fill out based on your character creation prompt. If you're using D&D Beyond, for example, or if you're using the player's handbook, it gives you all of this information, usually based on your background. And when you actually set it up on your background, it will tell you all of your different ideals and flaws and traits. You just put those in here. You can click this pencil here to set up. So Elise is a subscriber. There you go. And now we know that Elise has subscribed, even though she doesn't want to hit the like button. So we know that she subscribed. Her proficiency is now 3. You can actually see this updated as well. As we updated her level to level 6, she got proficiency 3. It tells you how much XP she needs now as well. So we could say 14,500, and it fills the bar up. Do you see that? Although that doesn't quite look accurate, but whatever. There you go. And now the bar is full. That is effectively it. There isn't much more to the actual player sheet. That was still quite a long run through, so I do apologize. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask in chat. I can do my best to explain it. In the next one, I will go over how to set up things like the non-player character, and then the one after that, I'll talk about vehicles as well. Vehicles won't be too long, but it is just good to know. I'll just try and separate them just for the sake of convenience. It's a little bit easier. These videos get a little bit long, and since I edit every single subtitle on these videos, it takes a long time. Okay, so thank you so much. I hope that really helped. If there's anything else that you need, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to do my best to help. And for the written version of these guides, you can always check it out on Flying Orc as well. That's just flyingorc.com. Thank you so much. Have a good day.